You mentioned earlier, I think might have been during training camp, about the idea of Ekholm and Broberg maybe being able to spend some time together. How can Ekholm help Broberg, and what do you like about that?
Yeah, well, we're running 7D, so sometimes partners move around. But I think obviously two countrymen, one who's been in the league a long time, and the other one's finding his spot in the league. So both good hockey players for us, and if they end up together, we expect a good game.
What have you thought of Philip lately? Is he showing you some signs here and there that he's pushing you to put him out there more?
Yeah, I do. I think there's opportunity for ice time, and we look at, as I said yesterday, every square inch of our game, and for us, he's someone that doesn't show up in a lot of chances against. He doesn't show up as a primary cause of a goal against, that type of thing. I think he's had one early in the season off face-off in Vancouver that he'd maybe like to have back, but I see someone that skates well, that is a long body, that's unafraid to get in a shooting lane. He's a good hockey player.
We talked to Evan this morning, and he said in his own end he just really feels he needs to simplify things a little bit. What have you sensed from him as he's working his way through a tougher start defensively?
Yeah, I think self-awareness is key. Honest self-assessment is key. I think for him, obviously there's some situations he'd want to play differently or play better. And for him, I think, as with any player, when you're struggling in a certain area, the key to getting out of that funk is to go back to what your foundation is. And Evan certainly has an offensive foundation, but he has a defensive foundation as well. And for him to be aware of that, that's step one.
You talked about winning the day, and that's something that's come up quite a bit. Through this little bit of early adversity, how do you find the guys are dealing with that, keeping the focus on the task at hand and all that? Has it been tough at times early here?
Well, and we talked about this yesterday. We feel that we're better than our record shows, that we've played better than what our record shows, but our record is what it is at this point in the year. And I think it's natural for any human being to think about that. Our job is to focus on is exactly what you said, taking care of the task at hand. And over time, if you do that, eventually the results turn your way. And I think in terms of our players' attitudes, they've been good. It's not negative. Everyone sees it the same way. There's honest self-assessment, like we talked about with Ryan. That doesn't mean anybody's happy. Nobody's happy about where the record sits. But it's not about whether you're happy or you're mad. It's about taking care of the business so that you get the results that you want to get.
Todd used the term when he was the coach, and I know you were here as well. Sometimes you got to put your arm around a guy. Sometimes you got to give him a kick. Is it more arm around guys right now, more kicks? How do you find you guys are dealing?
I think that's a common theme amongst any coach is it the carrot or the stick, or is it when things are going well, does someone need a push or do they need to pull in? I think different people react to stimulus different ways. It's the lessons you learned, I'm sure, because you were a top student in grade 10 biology. Okay? In grade 10 biology, I think it's when heat and stress are applied to an organism, sometimes it changes. So you got to figure out how people respond to different things, and that's part of coaching too, Tom.
Jay, I wanted to ask you a question about tonight's matchup specifically. Of course, in the last few days, you've talked about cleaning up the defensive side of the puck, but you're also looking to generate offense against one of the best defending teams in the league as well. Where's the balance in that, in generating the offense while also taking care of your own zone?
Well, I think if you look at where we sit in the league in terms of, goals let in or goals against average, save percentage, I think that's where our number one area goes to is cleaning up our side of things first. At the same time, You know, and we've talked about this over the last couple of days, there are areas that we think certainly we can clean up, but there's some individual responsibility that comes down to people executing in certain positions. On the offensive side, you know, we scored 4 goals on the road in a tough building the other day. We think that's enough to win games, and we did it without our captain and the leading scorer in the league last year. So we see signs in our offensive game where things are happening, but the big area for us is to continue to commit to cleaning up our end. If we do that, we think we're going to score enough goals to win.
Of course, the franchise is honoring 2 icons tonight. Is it a little bit of a special feeling every time the Edmonton Oilers host a night like this?
I think so. You know, I'm excited to see the ceremony for Charlie and for Doug, and you know, we're lucky that we get to work for an organization that has such a proud history. Now we have an original 6 team coming in tonight to our building as well. That's always a special thing. But anytime you're inducting people into your team's Hall of Fame, it's special to honor people that have had such an impact on our organization at different times. And I know the players are fired up to do their best for him tonight.
Jay, you mentioned your captain. It sounds like he skated on his own this morning. I just wonder if you have an update, especially as it pertains to Sundays.
I haven't walked back into the trainer's area or the doctor's area, so I don't have an update for you. I'm sure tonight I'll have that for you. But, you know, I think, as I said over time, I wouldn't put a limit on Connor's healing ability.
Given the uniqueness of Sunday's game, you know, different environment, outdoors, you know, all that type of thing, do you feel like he needs to practice on Friday ahead of the game to be able to be an active player?
Here's what I think, DNB. I'm worried about tonight's game. I'm worried about who's in our lineup tonight. I'm worried about trying to get 2 points in our first home win against a very tough opponent.
A lot of your guys talked about how it's been individual errors that have led to a lot of the goals against. One guy, though, who mentioned last year, didn't like how his game was, even though he's second in league scoring. Leon Draisaitl, all the numbers, offensively, defensively, he's been very good this year for you, despite the team struggles. What have you seen from Draisaitl away from the puck defensively that you've liked that hopefully maybe could rub off some other guys?
Commitment. Somebody who's at the stage in his career where he wants to win, where he doesn't want things to be a work in progress. You know, he's serious. He's serious about maximizing his personal potential, and he's serious about the team maximizing its potential. He's had a lot of good moments both ways through the first 6 games of the year. But I can tell you this, I know what drives Leon, and that's team success. He's not, just like the rest of us, he's not just basing the year on his personal achievements. He is a true leader. I've seen some leadership things over the last week or so with him that quite impressive, and he's determined to get the team rolling in the direction it needs to roll.
And earlier you talked about normally if a player's struggling, go back to your base is what's good.
Yep.
It's kind of odd because right now Bouchard's offensive game is excellent. He's second leading scoring defenseman in the league. He's got 8 points. Some of his errors have actually come on puck handling in the D zone, which you would seem normally if you're handling the puck great offensively, it's just going to translate all over. How do you get a guy to challenge that when it seems so odd that the one forte of his game is really good at one end and then he's just, you know, the puck's bouncing off his stick in the D zone? Well,
I think what you do is you talk about that, exactly what you just said. And my initial answer, I think, to Ryan, it was, you know, it's about going back to a defensive foundation. And, you know, we never want to take away somebody's gifts or strengths, you know, which for Bush, he's one of the top power play quarterbacks in the National Hockey League on a really good power play. On a power play that has had some good quarterbacks over the years, going back to Clefbaum, then Nurse took it over for a little while, then obviously Barry came in, and now it's Bush's turn on that power play. For me, it's important for individuals to judge their game on their whole game. What are you doing to help the team win the game? Now, for someone of Bush's offensive capabilities, certainly being effective in that manner, being sharp, being someone who contributes to offensive situations is important. But it's also important to make sure that we're defending the right way. It also means that if we're a puck mover, we want to move pucks out of our defensive zone quickly. Those are areas that I think he can tighten up. He'd be the first one to admit it, like he did to Ryan. But for me, it's about going back to his personal foundation on that side of things.